Hey, how's it going, everybody? Good morning or afternoon or evening, whatever time it is in your area. So today we're going to be continuing on with the changelog application that we've been streaming the past few weeks, specifically focusing in on the ability to add users to, or not add, but invite users to a team. So if I were to log in here, let's see. Alrighty, I have two teams. I have Team Atticus and I have Tom Govich's team, which is the default team that was created whenever I created my account. So what we would prefer to be able to do is invite people in so that they can also either, if they're admin, manage the team, or if they're just a member, come in and create changelog posts, which we don't have the changelog front end portion. We don't have anything with that currently. So their functionality would be limited, but let's go ahead and get those that functionality rigged up. So within the team edit settings, I changed this slightly. So before we had it similar to the create new team. Not sure what, Z index issue, I bet. But if I come back here, so whenever you create a new team, you just have this basic form of a page. This is what it looked like previously, but I changed it slightly so that we have more of a paneling going on here. So we'll add the manage team down here below the edit team name section. So let me get the code up. So here's what this looks like. So I changed the forms to be this panel. It ingests the form functionality within there and manages the form in itself. Now we have a footer where the actual update team button would go, and then any contents just goes in between there. So that's what that's what that looks like. Pardon my tongue. So let's go ahead and start out with getting the visual portion set up, the form portion set up within here. So this is going to be another panel, so it's going to be similar to this. So we can copy that and paste it down here below. And then instead of edit team, this will be manage team members. Something like that. Now we're not going to have an action quite yet, so I'm just going to set this up to a £sign for right now. And then what we would want is an email. So we'll take in an email here, and this will be the email address of the person that we want to invite. And then we'll kick off an invite email to that person to say, would you like to join this team? And then also give the option to create an account if they don't already have an account within the system. So this would be email here for the name, and there will not be any valuing going on. So we can just leave that off. And then we can change this to invite member. We also want an additional field here. So if we take a look, let's see, let me pull up the database here. See if I can get, there we go. All right, so if we take a look at the team users table here, we do have a role ID. So what we want to also be able to do got to install update install pop-up. So what we also want to be able to do is specify what the new member's role should be that we're inviting in. So in this case, it's not going to be anything that we have currently, I don't think, but for, well, let's see if we have a select. So if we have a select, we can go ahead and just put it in as a select right now, but it might make more sense later on to have that more of like a radio button situation going on there. But let's see if we have a select. We'll just do that if we have one ready. So that would be inputs. We don't, so I'll just do a basic select here instead of using a component. So it's not going to look that great, but let's just get stuff up and running. So this will be role ID within the actual form field. And then we'll have our options. So within our team controller here, what we'll want to do is pull those out of the database. I think our roles also have a description. They do not. Okay. That must have been in a different lesson that we were doing that. So yeah, okay. We can either query them from the edit page, so right here, and then just provide them in, or we can use our enum and just manually set the text. Either way is fine. I'm going to go ahead and let's just query them for right now, because I think adding in a description later on, whenever we switch those to a radio button, might be a little bit better. So we'll go ahead and pull those down. So roles equals await, and then this will be role from our role model. And then let's query them so that we can make sure they're ordered by their name. Yeah, ascending's fine. And that should be fine there. And then we'll provide that into our edit page so we can jump back down into our edit form, do an at each role within roles. And then this will be our option, value, role ID, and then role name. All right, so let's take a look and see what that looks like. So if we jump back over into here, we have our manage team members, we have the email field here, we have our invite member button there, and then we also have, there's no label to it or anything, but we have our admin and user there. So actually, let's go ahead, because that's really hard to read and comprehend. Let's go ahead and jump over to Daisy UI and grab a select so that it's a little bit styled there. What's the input? Yeah, our input has a border, so we'll stick with that. So that'd be this one. All right. So we can copy that markup there, jump into our inputs components, and let's do select.edge there. And then we won't have any options. We'll just make that a strict slot there. So we'll do slots main. And then we can leave everything else the same. We do want to add in a name field there, and ATTRS and anything else. Yeah, let's. I don't think we'd want any of that for the select. Not within here anyway. That would be out on the options. So that would be all right there for right now. And then we'll just swap that out. So at inputs select, and then, well, yeah, we'd also want a label. So let's grab what we have for the input label for that. We'll just right here, go ahead and paste that into our select markup right there. Indent that. end that, and end that div. Okay. Jump back over into our edit. And so now we'll have our label of, we can just set that to role for right now, and the name is going to be role ID. And then at end there. Let's make sure that renders out okay. Cool. So there we go. Firefox does have this thing where it likes to auto-select selects for some reason sometimes. It's only Firefox, so if you ever see that automatically close and I click back into it, that's what's going on there. But we can now select between our admin and our user. And so let's go ahead and rig up a validator for this. So let's see. Make a validator. Let's call this team user invite. Can't spell. Validator. There we go. Well, I didn't need this explicitly add validator in there, but it would automatically taken care of that for me. But here we go. So we'll have our email, which will be, let's actually import rules. Schema string. It's going to be required, so we'll go right into our rules. Specify that it needs to be email. And then rules dot normalize email. We'll skip that. I haven't quite used that markup yet. And then we also have a role ID schema, and that one's going to be an integer. Sorry, that's the wrong. It's going to be a number. And rules exists table roles column ID. So there we go. So that should be our validator right there. So we can jump back into our Teams controller. And we'll want to create a new method for this. What would a good name for this be? Or we could also put it in a separate controller called team users. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's keep things a little slim. So let's go ahead and make a controller, call this team users controller. I'll hit no on resource because I'm not quite sure what all out of it we would need. And I'm thinking public async invite would be a good name for this particular method. And then out of here, we will need our request. Response, because I think we'll need to redirect, maybe. Redirect back. Excuse me. And auth, probably. And we'll grab session, because if we're going to redirect back, we'll want to put some. We don't have Flash messaging set up quite yet in this application, but we can go ahead and add that in there so that it works whenever we do get to that point. All right. So first, let's grab our data, and what do we name that? Team user invite validator. And next, let's go ahead and just, we don't have the mailer installed within here yet. I do not think. Just dev dependencies. We do. Okay, cool. I don't remember doing it. Do we already have mailers? I don't see any. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and make a mailer. Well, let's go ahead and create the invitation first so that it exists within the database. I think we're going to need an additional field on our team user relationship. There's a couple of different ways that you can do it, actually. You can have a separate table for the invitees so that you keep them completely separate from your team user members. And then once they accept it, you can move that record over into the official table, or you could add in an additional column into this table to say, hey, this invitation is still pending. And I think that's the approach that I would prefer to take here today. So let's go back into our database underneath our migrations for our team user. And let's add that in. So, so let's also add in a new model. Let's call this invite status. We'll create a migration for that. Won't need a controller or a factory for it. And then within here, we'll just do table string name, not nullable. It's going to do defaults too. And yeah. And then let's also go ahead and create an enum for this as well, similar to how we're doing with our accesses, roles. What's accesses? Hold on. Okay. So we'll come into here, new file, and let's do invite. I hate it whenever I run into the statuses. I don't like the word statuses. But all right, so enum invite statuses. And this will be pending as 1, accepted as 2, and yeah, rejected as 3. And then let's go ahead and export default the invite statuses. And then what we'll do is create the invite status records to match this. So we'll jump back down into our migration here for invite statuses. And after we create this, let's go ahead and run this defer. And let's create them. So let's await db table, this table name, multi-insert ID will be invite statuses dot accepted, or no, pending is 1. So let's do pending first. Ah. Pending name will be pending ID accepted and then rejected. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and just create an alter migration to add that into our team user table. So let's go ahead and make a migration. And let's call this team users add invite statuses, something like that. And it will not create a table. It will modify an existing table, and that table name is team users. There we go. And then here we'll do table dot integer invite underscore status ID unsigned references ID in table invite, and I believe it's going to be called invite statuses. Yes. All right. And we'll set that to not nullable and have it default to, and that's getting a bit long, so I'm going to break that down. We'll default that to invite statuses dot pending. And then let's go ahead and do table dot drop column invite status ID there. Okay. So we should be good to go ahead and run our migrations at that point. Let's go ahead and actually add that into the... let's alter our model. Let's first go ahead and define the name on here. So column public name string. This is going to be a has many relationship with, or yeah, we don't have a model for it, so we won't have that. But on our team to user relationship, we'll want to add in. Did I not define the pivot columns yet? Nope, looks like we have the pivot table, but not the pivot column. So we'll want to add in pivot columns here. We'll want our role ID to come through, as well as that team invite ID. Is that what I called it? Or was it team user invite ID? Or add invite status ID. Invite status ID. There we go. We'll copy that, paste that over onto our user as well. And so now those two columns will just come through as extras anytime that we query between our many-to-many relationship here. So they'll plop into the extras of the related. Okay. So at this point, let's go ahead and run our migration. Run migration and okie doke. Migration run. There we go. That's the order. Yep, just want to run against the default. All right, so there we go. Yeah, sorry. Those two got added in. So now if we come back into our database here, refresh. All right. So these two here are the owners. What we should have done is alter the query a little bit there, but we don't have that running against anything on production, so it's not like it's that big of a deal. But since these two users actually do own their related team, they're the admin, what we should have done is just auto accepted it since it already exists, but we can go ahead and just alter that within the database here. And commit that in. Okay. So in addition to that, the way that it would be great to pull that is to see which way are we going to need to pull that first. So probably off of the user to pull in their teams. So let's do it on the user side first. So we have teams here. What we can do is add an additional on query to make sure that that only pulls through teams that they've accepted the invite to. And then we can add a separate pending, and we can show those invites on their dashboard and nowhere else, so that they can't try to go into a team that they haven't accepted quite yet. So we can do on query here, and that will take in the query. Query dot where trying to think how this would need to be, because this would be on the pivot table. So it would be where pivot, and it would be invite status ID. And I think we would just want not equals. Well, no, you would definitely want to accept it, because if they've rejected it, then you definitely don't want it to show up here. So where it equals invite statuses dot accepted. And so now anytime that we preload or load the teams relationship, it will only pull in the relationships where they've been accepted. We can go ahead and test this actually by just refreshing our application to make sure that everything still works. So there we go. Yeah, everything still came through. We did set these two users to the administrator of their teams. So we didn't break anything, which is good. And now what we can do is actually just copy this relationship and do the inverse. So we can do, excuse me, keep everything there the same, just change the on query for the invite status ID from accepted to pending. And now this will be pending invites, or pending, or yeah, let's just do teams pending. And then we can I don't think we'd ever need to show rejected. We just keep that for historical purposes. So yeah, just leave it there at teams pending. And so now we can specifically get the pending invites by preloading teams pending and then get everything else from teams. So let's go ahead and go back up to our team users controller. And let's go ahead and create one of those invites. So let's go ahead and create the record first. So that would be await. And what we'd want is the team. And at this point, do we have the team in the params? We do. So we should be able to bind that in and get the team from there. So that would be team, team. So we can await team dot related users dot create, pass in the data, and then the pivot. I think this is the pivot data, right? I think the second argument is pivot data. Let me verify that. Pivot attributes, yes. All right. And so here we would want to specify, well, actually, I think our defaults might take care of this use case. Well, so actually on that, this is going to be role ID, and then we can just spread everything else out as data because we do want the role ID specifically for the pivot. And then we can specify that in as role ID there. Actually, I think that needs to be database named. So it'd be role ID. And then pending is fine for this use case. We don't want to auto accept it. So we'll go ahead and leave that as is. Now we do need to alter, while I'm thinking about it, the official creation whenever you actually create a new team and we create that default team and bind the user, because that's going to default that invite status ID to 1, the same issue we ran through whenever we ran our migration. So we'll need to alter that. That should be, let's see, so if we go into our auth controller, and that would be underneath register or sign up, where we go ahead and stub a default team and bind the user to the team. Yeah, right here. So I'm just going to break that down into a separate line. And what we want to do is specify that since this team is being automatically created for the user whenever they sign up, we want that invite status ID to be invite statuses dot accepted. Just go ahead and auto accept them since they're the ones creating the team in the first place. All right, so there we go. So that should be all right there. Let's jump back into our team users controller now. And we are okie dokie to leave that off here because pending is fine. But what we want to do after we actually create the record, excuse me, is kick off an email. So let's go ahead and do make, and I believe it's called mailer. I'll call this something like invite team user. Or maybe send team user invite. Yeah, let's go with that. All right, so now we have this new folder called mailers. And this isn't in charge of actually sending out the mail. It's just to simplify preparing it and setting up all of the data and all that stuff. I think additional arguments are the second batch to no. Actually, I think that goes into the constructor. Let me verify. It's been a couple of weeks since I've worked with one of these. So let me go into docs. Let me go down to mailer. I think that's down here at the bottom. Yeah. Let's take a look. Passing additional arguments. Oh, that wouldn't be down that far. Let's see. Oh, I'm not even in the classes yet. Let me go into classes. I realized, no, this looks like a class. All right, here we go. Here we are. Yeah, so it looks like it does go into the constructor. So my mind was right about that. So it goes onto this instance. So what we'll want is probably just the email, because that's really all that we're going to have, right? Is the email. We probably provide the role ID just in case we want to say, hey, you've been invited as a member or an administrator. So let's go ahead and add in a constructor here. And we'll do protected email as a string, and then protected role ID as a number. And then we also need to call super. Let's see, do I need to pass anything in the super? No, okay. And now within our actual mail, from would be just whatever. So that could be well, let me use an actual, because if we get to the point where we deploy this out, I don't want to use some other changelog apps domain by accident. So let me go ahead and do an actual email that I own there. And then we'll do the email that's provided in here. So this email would be that right there. And then we would have, I'm just going to provide in some ugly HTML string just so that we get something going. And this would be, yeah, we can do an H1. You've been invited to join a changelog team as a, and then here we can do const role string equals, yeah, we could do something like that, but I think just since we only have 2 roles at this point, we can do role ID. Or let's go ahead and just grab the name out of the database. How about that? So let's await this, role, find or fail, this role ID, and then just change out the role. Oh, let me double check, make sure that this can be async. Because we might just need to change that to pass the role in. Yeah. I'm not 100% certain that can be async. So I'm going to go ahead and just change that to be, let's pass the role in instead of the role ID. So that would be role as role. Okay. And then we could do as a role name, 2 lowercase, and their H1. I'm going to break this down. So we're going to add an additional paragraph here. And that should be this role. And then this will just be a href. And then we'll want to set up some form of a URL. Let me just do accept invite. So whenever it comes to actually accepting the invite, there's obviously several different ways you can go about it. The first that comes to mind, or the first issue that comes to mind is, what if they don't have an account? Then you need to handle that. Or what if they do have an account and they're already bound to several other teams? That's obviously the easiest scenario to handle, because then all you need to do is add them, have them log in, and then you can just automatically accept their invite. So I think the easiest thing to do would be probably have a single endpoint that then determines it at the time that the actual endpoint's requested. Because if you try to determine it at the time that you're sending out the email, they might sign up on their own and then come back to this email and try to accept the invite, which obviously would then mess things up because now this is pointing to a separate endpoint since we determined it at the time that the email was sent. So that's definitely something that we want to determine at the time that they're trying to request our app. Before we do any of that, let me check with my EMB here. Yeah, I know. So let's go ahead and do app domain as HTTP localhost, and let's put the port in. And I'm using localhost there because that's what I tend to use whenever I'm actually visiting the application, so that whenever we get redirected back, nothing gets messed up with the application state whenever I click on it within Centrap. That's not right. But within the SMTP tester that we'll be using. Mailtrap. All right, so let's give that a save. Actually, I'm going to add that in as an EVTS as well. Schema and string. All right, give that a save. Back within our invite, now we can go ahead and build out that URL to whatever we want it to be. So we can import route from IOC_route. We don't have a route set up for this yet, but we can go ahead and do that. Actually, we don't have a route set up for any of this yet beyond the edit page. So let's see, within our, this is all happening right up here. So we have Teams create, Teams store for creating it, or edit. So let's do route dot put, and then we can do Teams, a team ID, and call that invite. And then that would be our Teams team users controller. Team users. Yeah, team users controller dot invite as Teams invite. Hey Max, thanks for stopping by. So that's one portion of the equation. So that's going to handle the form submission and be in charge of actually sending out the team members' invitation. But we also need the inverse side that the invitee would then click and come into our application, where we would determine whether or not they need to set up an account or just log into an account or just automatically accept them since they're already logged in. So at that point, do route, set that up as a get, and that would be Teams. We want the team ID on there. We could do invite, and let's see. Because now that I think about it, we're going to want some type of token to make sure that nobody tries to snipe an invitation. So we could do a token there. Or you could do a signed URL, actually. Maybe we do that as a signed URL and then have that be the invitee's URL or invitee's ID. So that would be like user. Yeah. All right. So team users controller dot and let's see, what would be a good name for that? Maybe handle or accept. No, because I think, yeah, we'll roll with accept for right now. So team invite accepts. I read that horribly, but yeah. And then we'll make that a signed URL so that nobody can snipe the invitation. So we can go ahead and set that up as public async accept HTTP context contract. We can go ahead and bind that one there as well to get our team on there automatically. Let's see. So while I was setting that up, my brain thought of something else, and that is where we are binding the user, creating that related user within here. That user doesn't actually exist. So that's something that we need to take care of as well. You don't want to actually create the user at that point there. So now thinking about it, it may actually be better to just have a separate invite table. Should preface this that I've never run through this flow personally before in an application of setting up an invite system. So we're thinking through this in real time. So let's see. So that would be take our invite status ID out, and we could do team users or just team invites. And then that would just be the team ID, an email address, the role ID for the user, and then the invite status ID. So I think that would be the best way around the situation of not having that user quite existing at this point in time that we're trying to actually create that in there. And then that would go through and so, all right, I hate to roll back some of the stuff that we've already done here, but that would take out the, let's see, where's the services? This additional field here would then go out and we go back to how we were originally there. Remove that import. And then this query relationship would go out the window, and then we can get rid of our onQuery again. And then I'm going to go ahead and roll back our migration. So it's migration roll back. And that will just get rid of those two migrations that we've added in out of our database. And then we can go into our migrations. So database migrations come down into our this one here where we added it to the team users, and we can just delete that out altogether and then recreate it as a creation migration. So that's actually, we'd want that to be a model. So we'll make that as a model, and we'll call this team invite. We'll create a migration for that. We can go ahead and create a controller for that, and we'll use that as a controller that we've been working, and we'll migrate stuff over into that. We'll skip on the factory. Okay, so our invites are going to look like this. So we'll have table, email, sorry, string with a field of email. And that will be not nullable. And then we'll have, well, before we have the email, we'll also have the team ID. So that'll be integer, team ID, unsigned references, ID, and teams. And then that too would be not nullable because it needs a team to go to. And then we'll also have another integer for our invite status. So that'd be integer invite status ID, unsigned references ID in the table, invite statuses, set that to not nullable, but we also want to set that to default to invite status. This is pending. and then role. So table, do another integer there. Table integer role ID unsigned references ID in the table roles not nullable, and we'll default that one as well to roles dot user. And now I think that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this. We'll paste this into the model. So let's go up into, I apologize, my scrolling's all over the place. It's a Mac to Windows thing. I wish they were both the same. I can make them both the same, but then my mind would get even more confused because I've been working here for a minute. So let's see. So our team invite, paste that in here, and let's clean this up a little bit. And all of this is not nullable, so we can just paste those types in there. Just go ahead and find and replace integer with number. There we go. Oh, that's my line breaks. Okay, there we go there. That'll belong to a team. There, and then our teams will have many invites. So okay, cool. Now we'll leave that as team invites. I was thinking maybe we should just merge that into as just invites, but we'll leave it as is there. All right, so let's go ahead and run our migrations again. So migration run. Cool, no issues there. Actually, oh yeah, no, that went away, right? Okay. I was gonna say we were gonna have that same issue that we ran into before, but no. All right, that's out of there. So now we should be done with our database stuff for this. Then it comes time to come up here. Let's go ahead and merge what we have already here into that team invites controller, and then we'll just get rid of the team users controller. I should have just copied everything, but all right, there we go. Okie doke. And then we'll just delete out that controller right there, and we need to update the route for that as well. So that's right here. So it's team invites controller. And I do like that name better because now we can just update this to store, since that more accurately describes against the controller name. And then here, yeah, I guess accept still makes the most sense there. So it's going to be teams invites. Let's camel case it. Okay. I'll put a line break in there so that there's a little bit of separation between what those two are. Okay, next. I think I removed out of our team invites controller the, nope, I did not. All right, so let's rewrite this creation step. So await team dot related, and we should have team invites there, and let's go ahead and create a record. And at that point, think we're okay to go ahead and just switch all that back to data. And then we can merge that in here, data. We're also going to need the team. No, the team ID would automatically go in. What else do we have in there? So I feel like there's one other thing there that I'm missing. Let's refresh our database. Team invites. Right there, we have invite status. I think that's it. Because the email and the, oh no, role ID. Because the email, no, email and role ID come up with the data. It would be the invite status. So invite status would be set to default or pending by default. So actually we're good to just go ahead and pass data in there altogether. Ooh. Like so. Okay. And then actually we can simplify our mailer here slightly. So we can const invite equals, and then we can just pass in the actual invite record. So within our mailer, instead of accepting the email and role separately, just set this up as invite. And that would be a type team invite. Get rid of those two. Scroll down. And so this would be invite email. And this would be add the role in there. And then obviously that's going to be nullable. So I'll just do that for right now. Oh, well, right there. Should read comments more often. Answers the question I asked earlier of whether or not that can be async. It can. So let's go ahead and await this invite load role so that we know that that's going to be on there. All right, cool. So that should be good there. Let's go back into our team invite controller here and actually send out the mailer. Now, I forget how that works, so I'm going to go look. Let's come back into here. Oop. And let's scroll down a little bit. Okay, cool. So we just use it as we create a new instance of it and then call what we need to. And then I assume we pass the data into the constructor since it goes into the constructor, right? Yep. Sure enough. Cool, cool, cool. So we can await new, or do you need to await that? Yeah, they're awaiting it. So we'll await it. Await new. That's not the mailer. Send team user invite. Provide in the invite, and we'll do dot send later. All right, so that should create the invitation and then send out the invitation email. And then here we can do session dot flash success invite sent, sure. And then return response redirect back. And turns out we didn't need auth at all. All right, so let's test out this flow and then make sure that that works. We need to rig up the form. So let's go back into all right, I'll just look over here. Go back into our Teams edit page. That sounds right. And within our form here, this will change to route. Just need the look. team invites.store. That's it. And it takes a team ID. Just like so. And I think that's all that we need there. So we can give that a save, jump back into here, or jump back into here. Oh no! All right, we have an error somewhere. Let's see what it is. Sorry, terminal opened up on the other side. Select teams, star, team user. As oh, I left the pivot. Did I? I must have. So let's jump back into both of these here. Yep, sure enough. Need to remove that column out of there because that column does not exist anymore as the pivot. All right. There we go. Looks like our error's gone. We'll try refreshing again to make sure. Yeah, cool. Okay. So let's just put in some random user. Let me actually make sure it's not a user that we already have within here. Make sure that, oh, okay, that's the only user. Easy enough. So we'll do test1 at test.com. Let's try adding them in as just a normal user. Let's send out our invite. And what's our error? Missing method. Oh, I didn't change the method name to match, did I? Okay. We'll go back up into our team invite controller. We left accept as accept, so that one should be good. And now we have our store here. So I'm going to go ahead and just refresh. Looks like a lot of our form data there persisted. Hit enter. All right, cool. So we got redirected back. Let's check the database, see whether or not that actually got created. It did. We have our role ID of 2, which is correct. Our email there. And the invite status and team ID is correct there as well. So cool. So next, what would be great is to show pending invitations within this form here, or within this page here. Okay. So let's change this to, instead of manage team members, let's do invite team members. And then we'll plop that down here, another section here, and call this pending team members or something like that. And take the form out. I think I need to change the component to handle that because at this point it's just a regular old panel. So let me go do that as well. So that would be forms panel. Probably be better just to have a normal panel component, but this will suffice. Okie dokie, and then we just copy all of the body contents. Paste that in there. And okay, I don't know what I just hit on the keyboard, but all right. There we go. And I'm just going to put testing in there just to make sure that we don't get any errors. All right, cool. So we need to query them first. So we created a relationship off of the team. So that should be within our teams controller here, right here. Actually, no, not right there, right here, where we have the edit function. Let's go ahead and do await team.load team invites. Woo. Query.where invite status ID is invite statuses dot pending to specifically get the pending. Now we could just change the relationship to be team invites pending or something like that and just load that in that way with this as an on query statement. I don't think we're going to need this query a whole lot, so just this one-off query here will be just fine. So now that will be directly off of our teams. And so then we can jump back into our edit page. And let me look and see if I have a table component here yet, or whether or not. I don't remember what I did for the home page. So I might just copy and paste what I have there. So I think, is that the welcome? No, it's the dashboard. It's the dashboard. Okay. Let's just copy this table here and we'll paste it over there. We'll have this be a table. Okay. So again, normal use case application, you wouldn't show the ID, but since we're developers actually working on the application, I'm going to keep the ID there. We can do the team there. Well, actually, that wouldn't make any sense because this is just going to be shown just for this team. So we'll be in the team that we're actually viewing these for. So we don't need to see the team at all since we would know exactly what that's for. So I guess that would be email and then status. Okay. And then that would be team invites, invite. First one would be invite.id. Second one, we will have, no, actually, I don't think that would need to be an anchor or anything like that. So we'll just have a normal TD here. And then we can actually go into Teams controller here, and let's also, that would be within the query. So let's drop this query down. Oh, I didn't add it in. Okay, let's go into our invite model. Nope, that's invite status. That's the wrong model. There we go. And let's add in the invite status relationship here as well. So it's going to be belongs to invite status. Just like so. And what we can do is go ahead and just preload that on there as well. So back to the Teams controller where we have that. And let's go into here and just rewrite that preload, invite status. Jump back into our edit. And now we can do invite status.name to just show the name of that. And I will just leave actions as that. So now if we jump back into the page, we have our ID, email status. We can see the ID of one, the email that we submitted, and then the status of pending. And then we can like add a cancel invitation or something like that within the actions later on. So cool. So there's that. Obviously we want some type of margin and separator between these panels, but I'll take care of that later on. Okay. So now the inverse side, if we go take a look at, oh, I said the name of the service earlier. Mailtrap. Mailtrap. Let me log in. Do I not have a bucket? All right. Let's see. Email to, oh, there it is. Okay. Looks like we didn't get any emails. So let me make sure that my credentials match up. I might have changed them after the last stream, and I don't know. So let me just make sure that all this matches. So let's see. Username. Yeah, that didn't change at all. And then 44CB, that's right. Okay. That would be back a little bit. Maybe we'll just try to invite somebody else. See if we get any errors. Let me go back into the team invites controller here, make sure that we have that. Yep. All right. Yeah, so let's try this one more time. So let's do test2 at test.com. Invite. Okay. See if we got any errors. Unable to deliver mail, connection refused. Localhost 587. Wonder where it's picking that 587 up from. Let's see. SMTP port, SMTP host. Well, that would do it. Yeah, I'm definitely not trying to send this off my local. Let's see. Host. Probably set this up thinking that it was something like the database. And then the port 587. That looks like that's one of the acceptable ones, so we'll leave that as is. All right, let's try that one more time. I'm gonna go ahead and just delete that invite out so that we don't have, well, and we'll leave it in there. Give us some test cases to work with. All right, so let's try, well, so you can see test user 2 got automatically added whenever we redirected back here. So let's do test 3. Let's do this guy as an, and let's do him as user 2. Invite there. All right, there you can see 3 got added. Check and make sure we didn't get any. All right, so we got no, couldn't send. There's our invitation there. You've been invited. I don't think we actually set that up quite yet, so I don't think this link's going to be accurate. Now, you can see it's trying to go to Mailtrap. So that's definitely not right, but the premise is there. So let's go ahead and see about that side of the equation. It's going to be in the mailer. Oh yeah, we didn't do any of that. Let's import env from at IOC Adonis core env. And do in fact know that we added in the domain in here. So we do env dot get there we go. That's what I'm looking for. App domain. And then it'll be the HTTP localhost and then whatever port we're running on. And that will specifically run off of HTTP localhost since we're actually actively using localhost for our actual test use case here. If we had set this up as 0.0.0.0, whenever we clicked our Mailtrap link, we came back, we would not be logged in, which actually might be beneficial for this use case because then we would not be logged into the user who sent the invite, but rather we could log in as the user who's receiving it. But regardless, I think it would be better to be consistent with what actual domain we're using here locally. So that will suffice there. And then what we want is the path. And that's what we set up here as our teaminvites.accept path. And that's going to be a signed URL. So we also want to import route. Within here as well. And we do route get, or sorry, that's not right. We do route dot, I believe it's make signed. Team invites accept. It's going to accept the team of the team ID. So that would be this invites team ID. And then expires in, we set it up for 24 hours, or you could set it up for whatever. I'm going to leave that off. I don't think it's that big of a deal in this particular use case to have that long living. So then we just need to join the two together to get our final URL. So that would be domain and path. All right, so let's go ahead and just test that out, make sure everything's still working okay there. So we'll do our test user 4 go into Mailtrap, make sure that that's, or yeah, no, we did set it up as a signed URL, so that would be correct. So test4@test.com. Do another user, invite. Sure. ID param. Oh yes, we need the invite ID. That's right. So that would be ID, this invite ID. Okay. Now we don't have that set up as a transaction. We probably should. Well, can't really transact the fact that the email sent, can you? You could commit it afterwards. Yeah. Hey, easy programming. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thanks for joining us. So let's go ahead and try that again. I believe test user 4 would exist already within here. I'm just going to go ahead. Yes, I do need to buy a license. Let's go ahead and just delete that out. And let's try that again. So test user 4, send that off. There we go. So now it looks like it's sent out. Let's go ahead and there's our test 4 invite. See this? You can see down at the bottom left hand. Well, it's being cut off a little bit on the stream. Let me pull that up just slightly. But down on the bottom left hand corner, you can now see that it's going to localhost 3333 teams 1 invite 5 with the signature attached to it. If we click on it, it's not going to do anything. We haven't set this up quite yet. Thank you, Easy Programming. He says, keep it up, brother. Appreciate that. So that would be the other half of the equation. We have this accept method being reached. We're not getting an error because that actually exists, but it's not responding. So what we would want to do at that point is handle of this. And that is going to depend on a couple of things. Is the user logged in? Because right now we're logged in as the person who sent out the invite. So is the person logged in? Is it the same email as the one that matches the invitation? If not, at that point, you probably want to throw an error. So maybe we change this one to handle. Because it's not so much accepting as it is handling and deciphering what to do with the request. But we'll move forward for right now and contemplate naming here later. So out of here, we're going to want request response because we'll definitely want to be able to respond from this. Auth to be able to determine what the authentication state is for the user. And I kind of think that might be it. Okay, so first, let's check the authentication state, make sure it's not somebody who isn't the anticipated invitation user. So, well, actually, first, let's check the signature. So if not request.has valid signature, return response dot unauthorized. So that's going to check the signature, make sure that that's valid. If that's valid, then we can continue onwards, and at that point we check the authentication state. So there we would do if auth user, and well, actually here we would probably want the invitation record. So I don't think that find by ID there exists that the AI is trying to do. So let me do await team related team invites dot, and we can do query where yes. Although we do want to do first or fail because if it doesn't exist, then why move on? All right, so now we have our invite. So now what we want to do is check if auth user and auth user dot email does not equal the invite email. I could see that being as bad request or unauthorized. We'll go with unauthorized, I guess, for right now. All right, so verify request has valid signature. Let's put a couple comments here so that we know exactly what the flow is. Boom. And then, let's see. What's next? So we verified the signature. We verified that the user is either authenticated or that the user is authenticated and the invite matches them, or the user, well, yeah. So next, if auth user, at that point, if they're still there, then we know that it's valid because the invite, we've already verified that it does match them. At which point we could go ahead and accept the invite. So we'll do accept invite. Let's see what else we have to handle here. So you have the use case where they are not authenticated at all and they need to create an account. Not 100% certain what the best flow for that use case would be. And then you also have the use case where they have an account, they just aren't logged in. So what we would want to do is with this invite, we could see whether or not the account actually exists. So let's do invitee account. User query where, sorry, probably just do find by the email of the invite email. Oh, yeah, I need params. Okay. So if not invitee account invited user does not have an account and needs to create one. So we would want to return response redirect to route, sorry, authentication route names. Auth sign up show. We don't want any params, but we do want a query string on there. And let's do let me circle back to that. If we're going to have the same situation with the inverse side as well. The situation being, how do you get them to where after they sign up, you just go ahead and accept it for them? Or do you force them to say, all right, now go back to your email and click the link again, which would be a little convoluted. So if invitee account exists, but not auth user, so if they're not logged in, then you'd want to return response redirect to route auth sign in show, and that's going to have that exact same use case that I just described. All right, so let's see. We have verifying the request signature. We have if the account for the invitee does not exist, handled. We have if all right, I think I have an idea on what to do for that. We have if the account does exist, but they're not logged in. We have if they're logged in, but it doesn't match their account. And then lastly, we have if they're logged in and it does match their account, go ahead and accept the invite. So I don't think we need an if statement for that. I think we've exhausted all of the scenarios for this. So we would just have accept invite there. And then return response dot redirect to path. And then let's redirect them to the team dashboard, which would be app dashboard. Okay, why is that not happy? Oh, there we go. Okay, so in terms of actually accepting the invite, let's go into our team invite here. And let's add a public async method on here to accept. We're gonna, excuse me. We're gonna have all of the information available via this. So const, let's see. It's actually taking the user record as well. Let's make that just a little bit simpler for ourselves there. And next, let's go ahead and do user. Let's see, user related, await user. And that would be teams. The team one is the default team one for querying. And then create. And then what we want to do is take the information. So this would be not so much the, let's see. Yeah, that wasn't as accurate as I thought. So let's see here. So we want to create it with the information from this. So let's actually just pluck some data out of this. So we would have team ID. We would have the user's email, but we have that for the user, so we don't need that. What else do we need for that? We need the role ID. I kind of think that is it. But it doesn't like team ID. Let's see. It's because it doesn't have all of the information, I bet. All right. James Fordman asks, why did you pick Adonis.js? So before Adonis, I was working primarily with Laravel in my spare time, and Adonis is very familiar with, or very similar to Laravel, and I'm primarily a JavaScript developer, so I was working with Laravel without really knowing PHP. Like, I knew enough to do what I needed to do in Laravel, but I didn't know enough to really harness the full power of what Laravel was. And I always wanted to primarily work in JavaScript, which is the language that I know best. So whenever I found Adonis in version 4, it's just kind of resonated with me, and it felt really comfortable, and everything made sense to me. So it's just kind of what I picked up. And I tried Nest.js. It wasn't for me. It's just the mental mapping of the way that it's set up is just, it's kind of confusing to me. And then the fact that you need to pick and choose packages beyond that, similar to Express, just adds an additional layer of complexity on top of it. Whereas Adonis comes with most of the batteries that you're going to need out of the box with first-party applications that are, for the most part, fully configurable to what you need. So, yeah, for the most part, long story short, it just made sense to me with my background and coming over from Laravel. So yeah, that's why I picked Adonis. And like Baptiste says, it's one of the best node frameworks out there. So definitely think it's underrated. Sure thing. Thanks for asking. So I need to remember what I changed for our user related teams. First, I want to make sure it is teams and not team. It could very well be team. I might be getting that flip-flopped. So let's go into our team here. And well, actually, we're coming from the user side. So let's go into the user. Yes, I thought team was indeed what I set up to be the last accessed. And then teams is indeed that one. Oh, that's why the role ID. Whoop, what did I just do? Push the key. Oh, using Windows keys again. Yeah. Easy Programming says, same here in SJS, starts as a cute baby, then suddenly grows into a giant project with lots of unrelated packages, in addition to not having a systematic way of doing things. Yeah. I'm going to write this outside of this first, and I'm going to try to put it in there. Probably make more sense that way. So here we have our team. So if we do await team related users dot create now, that would be trying to create a user, which is what I don't want to do. And that's creating a name. Oh, I know what. Sorry. Brain fart. Don't want to do either of those. Await user dot related teams. Don't want to create, but we rather want to attach. And let's see. So do a single record, but we also need to attach in intermediary data. And if I remember correctly, you provide that in as an object to do that. And then this would be the ID. So this would be this dot team ID, and then the intermediary data would go in here. So that would be role ID as this role ID. I'm going to double check that though. But I'm pretty sure that's right. We can get rid of that there too. So yeah, so we have now our accept method would just bind the, it would create the user record on the team in itself, but then we also want to update. So let's do await this dot, and we would want, trying to autocomplete with that AI system is a little bit difficult. So then we want to change the invite status ID to match. So we would want to do equals invite statuses dot, and then set that to accepted. Oh yeah, no, sorry, you don't await that. And then now you await this dot save, and there we go. All right, so now we can just call that accept method to accept it. So then we would be able to do our invite, I think is what I saved it as, slightly out of screen. Await invite dot accept. And that does need our user. And there we go. Okay, so back to what happens if the user is not authenticated or doesn't have an account. And then what we want to do is forward along the signature. Now, whether or not to do that via the query string, I'm hesitant to do. I think maybe flashing it would work, and then you can redirect them, and that should show up. So let's try that approach. I don't recall ever trying to use session flashing in that way, but we'll see. I don't know how easy it's going to be to specifically grab it. It shouldn't be too hard. Actually, yeah, no, it should be fine. So let's go ahead and do session flash and set that up as signature. And that's going to be on the query string. I'm going to just double check and make sure that it is called signature. Yeah. So request QS signature. And then yeah, I don't think we need anything from there on. And then we would want the same thing for logging in as well. Okay. I'm going to put a comment here too. All right, cool. So now within our login forms, what we'd want to do is handle this flash signature being there, and just kind of provide that in with the form data. So we can go into our pages auth. Let's do sign in first. And within our form, we can have a field here that checks if flash messages dot has signature, and if wow, butchered that. There we go, that looks better. Value flash messages get signature. Okay. Copy that, paste that into our sign up page there as well. Add that into the validated data as an optional field. Actually, is our validation in here? It is. Okay, cool. So let's scroll up to here, our sign up. Let's do that one first. So we'll add signature onto here as a string and an optional string. And I think that would be it. And then let's scroll down to our sign in and do the same thing. Cool. So now we would want to check within those two methods whether or not signature exists within the validation data. So we can extract that out of the data. So we can do signature and spread in the data. If signature does exist, what we'll go ahead and do is instead of redirecting them here like so, we can redirect them to the exception page and retry. So if signature response redirect to route team invites accept needs team of team ID. Yeah, we are gonna need a team ID, aren't we? Can't remember if that can be an object. We're gonna try. So let's do signature as it was. Hopefully I copied that. I did. Cool. Signature. And let's do invite ID. Okay. Scroll down, set that for this one here as well. And then let's go change our here. Something like that. And something like that. I'll need it in that invite or that input. All right. Copy that. Send that over to the sign in page as well. All right. And now instead, in addition to signature, we will also have our invite ID as optional. Okay. And scroll down a little bit. Provide that here too. Scroll back up. All right. So here we have our invite ID. So if we have a signature and invite ID, we'll also grab invite ID out of the data as well as signature. Let's wrap this up in a try. If it fails, we'll just let it continue onward. We'll have them just be redirected to their dashboard, where they would also see the invitation there as well, once we get to that point. So let's do invite equals await team invite dot find or fail by that invite ID. All right, and we're gonna have team via that invite dot team ID. And then we also need to provide in the signature. And that's going to be, well, that would just be signature, so we can just leave that like that. Okay. And now, additionally, if they're signing up for the first time via an invitation, there's really not a need to go ahead and stub a team for them. So we can bypass that as well. I think. So we'll move this to after this. So that if everything works here, then all should be hunky-dory there. And that, well, I mean, this should be skipped is what I meant to say. I don't know why I said it the way I did. My brain knew what I meant, but I realized that that didn't make any sense to you guys. So, all right. We should be good there. let's go ahead and do the same thing on our sign in for those folks. We don't need to worry about moving anything for that one. Let's see. So sign in, auth attempt. If it fails, we'll get kicked back. So after it successfully happens, we'll come into here. Out of our validation, we will additionally want signature and our invite ID. Okay. I guess let's try it. See what happens. Actually, I need to copy this. Go into a new private window so that we're not logged in. Fix the adjustment of that for the stream. There we go. Paste this in and go. Cross our fingers, and we got some sort of an error. And it was select star from users where I did not spell out email completely somewhere. So where was that? I like the hint. Perhaps you meant email. Indeed, I did. All right, so let me check for email without email. Let's see if I can find this real quick in here. Email is used everywhere. Let me put a space after it. No, let me put an end string after that. Aha, there it is. Sure enough, right there. Get that saved, come back in here. All right, so nothing should have happened. We didn't get redirected or anything. We didn't get down to any of this stuff. So nothing happened with that request. It just kind of canceled out early on. It verified that the signature was accurate. It managed to query out our invitation, but whenever it tried to bind that to an actual account, that's where it failed. So we didn't get too far, so we can go ahead and refresh this without really having any issues in terms of that. So all right, here we are with our sign up page now. So we got redirected. It determined that we didn't have an account. We needed to create an account, so it redirected us to the sign up page. So now if we take a look at the actual form data here, we should see, in addition to all of the other fields, we should have a hidden invite ID, which is set to 5, and our actual signature. I'm not crazy about putting a signature into a form like this, but it's the way that my mind makes sense of it right now. There's probably a much more secure and better way to do it, but it'll get us working. And we can circle back to that if that is a security issue later on. Yeah. If you know of a better way to do it, let me know down in the comments. But that's what my mind's coming up with right now. I haven't spent too much time thinking about it, so we'll move forward with that so that we can get progression. So we have all of that. So if we go into here and we sign up, let me actually look and see what the email is. Or actually, the email should be auto-populated, shouldn't it? Because we have the email. So why not go ahead and auto-populate it? It'd save me from having to dig into the database every time that we do this too. So to see what the email is for the invitation. That also brings up another point though. So actually within our authentication, where we go to sign up, the invitation that we end up querying, that should match the user's email. Obviously that will be validated whenever we get redirected. That's going to validate that again, make sure that the invitation matches the authenticated user's email. So it will match there. So actually thinking about that, that should be okay. So let's go back into I guess it would be our show methods. Whether or not that would be on session or not. Aha! All right, cool it is. So has invite. All right. We can do const invite equals await team invite query, or sorry, I keep wanting to do that. Dot find or fail. Or I guess just do find. Just do find. If it fails out, that's fine. Yeah, we also want to get that. So and there should be dot flash messages there. Okay. So here we would have our invitation. So then we would be able to set, email equals invite dot email or an empty string. Okay. And then provide that down into form data. Do the same thing on our sign up. Session. Let email empty string. There we go. All right, cool. Let's jump back down into both of our authentication pages then. And let's try to set that just like so. Nothing's going to change there. We have to go back through and resend the request, which I probably have something else copied by now, which I do. So let's jump back into here, copy this link one more time, paste and go. Still no email. All right, let's see if we got an. All right, let's see where that might have gone wrong. Let's try that first. Okay, cool. So it found it. It got our invite ID of 5. Let's try console.logging out the actual invite. Oh, I see the issue. Didn't pass it in. All right. That would do it. All right, so let's jump back into here. Let's try that one more time. Copied something. All right. Oop. Okay. There we go. So now we have our email pre-populating. Probably be good to make that a README or a read-only field that's disabled, but we'll leave that as is for right now. So now we can set up some username for them. Just set that up as test4. Shoot. And let's give them a password. Cool. And boom. So now we logged in. We are getting our welcome to our changelog new user message. That's interesting. So it created a specific team for this user as the only team. So it doesn't look like our invitation method actually worked. So let's see. Actually, yeah, so the fact that we got redirected back to the dashboard with that new message, because I think I forgot to put that on to forward that through from the authentication state if we were to redirect here. Yeah, I did. So it didn't even reach here, this return redirect. It might have failed whenever it was trying to find it here. Shouldn't have, but yeah, it might have. Let's place some console logs, run through that flow again and see exactly what happens. So let's do our signature and our invite ID here. Let's console.log out our invite there. And let's do a sanity check here. And then let's console.log out any error should we get any there. All right, so that should have us pretty well rounded. So let's go ahead and send out another invite. So let's go back to this page where we're still logged in as our admin, or at least we should be. Test 5. Oh, that's not a full email. At test.com. Try sending them out an invitation. All right, there we go. Go back into Mailtrap. Let's copy this. Let's get a new private window open where we're not logged in. Let me readjust that so that fits your screen fully. Paste that in there. Oh, okay. Guess I need to close out the other private window to fully close out the session there. Or I could have just logged out. Oh well. Beyond that point now. All right, so let's paste this in. There we go. All right, let's do test 5. Hit submit. Same thing happened as expected. Let's come into here. Cannot make the route, so okay. I guess that's the best error that we could have gotten, because that's going to be easier to make, or easier to fix. And I forgot the invite ID on that, so cool. So here, yep, sure enough, got the team ID, not the invite ID. So I'm going to break this down a little bit because it's kind of hard to read as is anyway. And let's do ID of invite.id there. We'll need to do the same thing for the other one. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these definitely don't want to get rid of the login method. I'm going to get rid of these console logs. We'll leave the error one there. And then we'll scroll down to where we have that within our authentication and do the exact same thing. Sorry, that's just ID. And then invite ID. There we go. Okay. That should do it. So based off of how that failed, just to redirect this, yeah, we'll need to run through the full flow again. So let me go ahead and log out here. Did I not rig that up? All right, well, we'll just, I thought I did. Maybe I broke it whenever I changed the drop down. I'll take a look at that. But let's go ahead, get our new window open, just get that prepared. Come back over to here. Let's send out another invitation. I think we're on 6 now. We're on 6 now. So test 6 at test.com. Set them up as a normal user again. We'll get one working. Send that off. We have that sent off. Let's jump over to Mailtrap where we have that invitation. Let's copy that invitation. Go over to our new page so that we have that fresh session. Paste and go. All right, we're back at sign up. Let's go ahead and do test 6. Give them some password. Awesome. So this seems to have actually worked because now we're on Tom Gobage's team, which is the team that we were invited into. So now everything there seems to have worked. We got dumped right into that dashboard. Obviously, it'd be great to keep the new user message. All we need to do is forward that along with the pre-string system. So we can do that as well. But yeah, you can see that's the only team that this user is a part of. So awesome. We don't have any permission checking or anything in place yet, so I would be able to go in and view everything and invite people. We haven't done any of that yet. We'll do that in a separate stream. We'll go through the entire application and just kind of pound that out. But yeah, awesome. So we have that portion working. Obviously, now we want to check out the alternative scenarios. So now that this test user 5 or whoever this is should probably show the actual authenticated user somewhere within here. I think that was test user 5. Here I can go into here. It was invite 7. So we can go into invites, give that a refresh, see 7. That was to email test 6. So we're at test 6. So what we can do is over here, we can switch over to, oh yeah, I gotta fix that Z index issue. Switch over to Team Atacast now. Go and manage this team where we don't have any invitations going on. And let's invite that test 6 at test.com user. And let's invite him as an admin over here. Obviously, just covered that the role currently doesn't do anything, but we'll rig that up in a separate stream. So let's go ahead and invite him into this team here as well. So now we have that separate invite, and this is testing the alternative scenario of what if they are not logged in, but they already have an account. This should go through the exact same flow we just saw, but with the sign up. So we can copy this link. Let's go back over into our private browsing. Let's clear that out since I don't know what's going on with our logout button. And let's just open up a new one. And let's paste that in. All right, cool. So now we got redirected to the sign-in page with the email pre-populated, which is fantastic. Let's go ahead and try logging in. And I'm seeing Team Adacasts right over here. You can see now this user belongs to 2 different teams. We can switch between those 2 teams. Fantastic. So that seems to be working just fine. Another scenario to cover here is what if that user is logged in and that is their invite? So it should just happen. It should just redirect them. It shouldn't have any middle ground step. So let's go ahead and go back into our localhost 3333. Let's sign up with a fresh brand new user. Let's do, what are we at, test 7? Oh, no, that's the username. So test 7 at test.com. I misspelled password. There we go. All right. So we're logged in here. Let's go ahead and invite them. They have their test 7 teams, team. And let's go ahead and invite them into Team Atacast. So let's do test 7. Actually, let's refresh this page. Let's see whether or not this status here updated. Oh, yeah, no, that's right. It would go out altogether because they're no longer pending. So we should have another panel in there of actual team members, not pending, but actual team members. So we'll do that too. So now we have our test 7. Let's invite them as a normal user. Send out that invite. That is not an email. Very good. Way to test the validation system there. All right, so test 7 at test.com. Send that out. So now we have our test 7. Let's go into mail trap. Let's copy this link. Jump back over to our other browser here where we are logged in as test 7. Let's go to a new tab though. Paste that in. Nothing should change, and you can see before we were on Team 7 or Test 7's team, now we're on Team Atacast, where we're now an official member. So awesome. And we can switch between those two just fine. So that's working too. And then we already accidentally tested the case where what if that's not your invite? We just saw that we got redirected back to the user's actual dashboard page. So everything there seems to be working okay. Let's also go through and add in that additional panel of just team members, not pending team members, but team members. So let's go to, I think that's the team's controller there on edit. And we're loading the team invites, but let's also await team load. And that should just be users there. And I don't think we need to well, I think roles is what I'm looking for, but yeah. Yeah, okay. So we'll just load the users onto the team there. Go back into our edit page. I think it's been a minute since we've tested or touched that. Let's copy what we have in this panel. All right. Paste that up here, or paste that down below it. And then what we can do is we can also wrap this one here in an if. So if there's not any team invites pending, then just don't show the panel because it doesn't really serve a purpose. So if team.teaminvites.length and if, paste that in there. So if all of our invitations have been accepted, this panel just won't show, or if we haven't sent out any invites at all, that panel just won't show. And then here we have our team members. So this would be users, user. Again, we'll leave ID in here just for our use case. Obviously, if this was an actual application SaaS framework that we were building, we wouldn't want to show the ID there, but for us, we'll keep it in there. I think maybe username there instead of email, since these guys would actually have an account with us. And then you can do role there as well. For right now, let's just paste the role ID. And that should suffice. So that should give us something to look at. So we have our pending team members. If we give ourselves a refresh, it's still not showing up. Oh, well, it probably is. I just take pending out of the title there. Yep, there it is. So there we go. It is showing up. Role is undefined because that is not on the user. That's on the extras. So that would probably be extras.role ID, I think. Did that not? No, maybe not. Maybe I did. Let me check the pivot columns, see whether or not I added that on the team side of that relationship. I did. Did I do that camel case or snake case? I did that. Okay. Still no. All right. We'll find it. Let's see. So we know it's not going to be in the attributes because it's not an actual column for it. Scroll down to extras. Where are you? Extras. Oh, pivot. Right. I forgot. Sorry. It is preloaded with, or prefixed with pivot. So pivot role ID. And there we go. So all of these came in as an admin. I don't think I defined all of them as admin. I think test 7 was definitely a user if I remember right. So that would be something to look at. That's within the model. We put that on the team invite model as the accept. That's where we're parsing that over as. So I might have gotten this wrong. We can verify that. Actually, it should be on the invite. So invite, we refresh that. We have our test 7 invite here. The role ID, oh, it is 1. Okay. So let's switch over to the other team. We should have a combination over there that we should be able to check back against. So let's go over here, go manage that team. We have a number of pending, and we have an admin, and we have a base user of 6. And that one is correct. So, okay, I guess that is getting work. That is working correctly. For sanity's sake, I'm going to run through that role again on our Attacast team. So let's come in here. Test 8. Set them up as an admin. Send out that invite. I'm going to make sure, jump into the invites here, make sure. Oh, no, shoot, I meant to do user. Test 9. Set that up as a user. Invite the member. Make sure that that's going in there. Okay, it is. Let's come over to Mailtrap. Test 9. Let's copy that invitation, copy that link, jump back over into our other browser session. Did I close it? I did. All right. Paste that in there. Should go to the sign up page. Give them a username of test9. Give them a password. All right. We don't have any permission checking in here yet, so we can go ahead and just jump in here as this user. And boom. All right, cool. So that is working a-okay. So I think we've accomplished what we've set out to do in this stream. We have a system where we can invite team members that we marked as pending up until they go through and accept the invitation that they're sent via their email. They can sign up for a brand new account if they don't have an existing account from their invitation. They can sign in if they're not currently signed in, and they'll be automatically accepted if they go to accept the invitation and they're already signed in, and it will be just added to their teams. They'll be taken to that dashboard after they either sign up, sign in, or are already authenticated. Obviously, we'll want to perform some additional actions beyond just the invitation system. So being able to rescind an invitation, being able to remove or delete a user out of a team. I think we've gone on long enough in the stream. I don't want to pack too much into a super long stream. So we'll do that in the next stream. We'll focus more in on the team member system a little bit more by adding the ability to remove members, change roles, and things like that. So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. And I will see you on Thursday for our next lesson. All right, have a good one. See you, everybody.